I made a video not too long ago discussing the rumors that MSI will be ditching Intel for AMD for their next handheld, and I went into a lot of things in that video, but overall, I was actually kind of sad if that was going to be the case, because having Intel as an option is very uncommon for a lot of these other PC handheld manufacturers. Pretty much all of them use AMD, and the odd man out was the MSI Claw using an Intel chipset, which is very uncommon, and it actually was very impressive. Frankly, the original Claw was terrible. The second one was good, but also still just only got better with time. So these launches weren't impressive, even downright terrible, but they have improved every single device, and it got a little bit better every week or every month or whatever frequency the updates came, and those devices became truly amazing. And the most recent device truly does actually compete with a lot of the AMD processors, but it's important to bear in mind that device competes with the Z1 Extreme, and even still, it only sometimes beats it, that being the Ally X. And that's current generation stuff, so I could see how MSI would look at that and, let's just say, be unimpressed with those results after putting in so much effort just to almost get the gold medal, not necessarily secure it entirely. But with this most recent announcement, it actually confirms that it will be using the AMD chipset. Not only will it be using AMD, but it shall be using AMD's Z2 Extreme chipset, which technically we haven't had another device announced to be using that chipset yet. Technically, we only know the other device that is coming out with the Z2 chipset is the next Legion Go, which technically never was confirmed to be a Z2 Extreme, just a Z2 line chip, which probably would be a Z2 Extreme, but we haven't had any actual confirmation yet. So MSI actually beat them to the punch to announce fully their next generation Z2 Extreme handheld. When they announced it, they did not give any indication that they're even dropping support for the Intel version though. They're advertising both of them alongside each other, proving that they actually are going to continue with Intel and continuing that partnership to keep developing future MSI Claws with Intel chipsets, which I am on the surface very happy about. But to be honest, it's frankly a matter of time and just comparing how well the Z2 version of this device is going to perform that might just have most people buy that version and never touch the Intel version. So if honestly, it's gonna eventually be canned. But until then, seemingly they're putting their faith in Intel to keep these both handhelds in development. Some other features of the new handheld include it having a 80 watt-hour battery. I love to see this trend continue, this trend of seeing massive batteries in these handhelds. The other two only devices that have done this so far have been the last generation MSI Claw with the Intel chipset and the Ally X, which has proven to be just enduring with the Z1 Extreme, because honestly, if you bought one of those things on the original Ally, you're still sitting pretty for the vast majority of titles. It has a massive 8-inch, 120Hz, 1080p VRR display, which is nice, I have to admit, but 8 inches is a little on the big side. I would have settled with like 7.5 with just thin bezels. It's just a little unwieldy. It also has two USB 4.0 ports, which are awesome to see. Performance at home, and then you can just unplug it, drop your settings, and continue to play on the go, like a Nintendo Switch Pro situation that a lot of people speculated back when that thing was first talked about, which would be incredibly cool for just so many reasons. It also introduces a new MSI app player dedicated for playing Android games in Windows. I'd have to admit that this is the first time that I'm aware that an actual Android dedicated gaming app in Windows is advertised alongside these PC handhelds. primarily because I never really thought about it. That is an excellent way to show you can play some amazing games at incredibly high FPS and at an incredibly high detail, because you're essentially playing phone games, and that can open up a actually huge library of titles. And if you are an Android gamer, bringing those titles over to something like this new claw device could be a compelling reason why to get in the first place. It has some pretty standard other features: RGB rings around the analog sticks, Hall effect triggers and joysticks, a rear programmable micro key on the back of the controller, which at this point is fairly standard amongst these other PC handhelds. But for me personally, I would vastly prefer that not to be a thing. I don't play any games where I really feel like that is necessary, and it always bothers me because every time I hold something like the Steam Deck, all I do is press the back buttons. Since they're not mapped to anything, it's not doing anything, but it's just something that always sort of distracts me. There is something that, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan. The overall design of this new handheld isn't great. It feels very angular, very gamery, and even the color choices, a white and black or a neon green, I would call it, and black, it doesn't look great. And I'll be honest, it's giving cyberpunk, but you didn't want to pay for the license. It's not a great color, and I have honestly no reason to believe that people should honestly get that color. But for some reason, a lot of people are talking about how much they love it. For me personally, I think it's freaking ugly. The Intel version of the Claw A8 is honestly beautiful, especially if you get the black and beige-ish color. And they're coming out with a new Arctic white color of that same handheld. Something those two devices will not have in common is their RAM capacities though. The new AMD Z2 Extreme version of this handheld is coming with 24 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, which is a very similar setup to what the Ally X had. 24 gigs, 16 dedicated to the CPU and general functions, and 8 dedicated as VRAM for the integrated graphics, which to me seems like a pretty solid setup. Good way to cost things down a bit, save some money, because 32 gigs, while being incredibly nice, a little unnecessary, especially when you consider like the main reason why you would want more VRAM is to play at higher resolutions. But you're not playing 4K on this device, on any of these PC handhelds, at least for now. So it honestly is just a waste, especially considering the size of the screen. 1080p is perfectly sharp enough, and 8 gigs is still pretty plenty for that. Some might argue 12 would be better, just so you can have larger textures and whatnot. So playing games like Last of Us Remastered and Last of Us 2 on PC would run a little bit better, but I don't personally play any of those kinds of games. That might do better with some more VRAM. 8 gigs suits me just fine for pretty much all the games I play, so I don't see any issue with that at all. I would love to hear what you guys think though. Are you excited about this new Z2 Extreme MSI Claw device? Are you a little sad that it is almost inevitable that they are going to can the Intel version? I would love to hear what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the other social media coverage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.